Thank you, Levon. I could start by saying, good afternoon, I'm Therese White, except Levon already said that. Let me just go right into it. Sadly, our dad passed away on October the 18th of last year. He was about 2 weeks shy of his 92nd birthday. Our entire family misses him dearly, including my 2 sisters, Merlin and Maria. Merlin and my favorite niece are here with us today in the first row with Bill. Our dad is also missed by the city of Bloomington, located in McLean County, Illinois, but for some reasons very different than ours. You see, the full story of the American Civil Rights Movement cannot be told solely by focusing on those who served on the national stage. Stories should also be told that highlight the exploits and the countless heroes who served and sacrificed on the smaller local stages all across America. Stages like Bloomington, where Dad, Merlin Kennedy, is one of those local heroes. His civil rights story began in Bloomington in early 1960s. Dad was described as a trailblazer, a community leader, a civil rights activist. So you're probably saying, where's Bloomington? It's located about 140 miles southwest of Chicago, right where Middle America begins. To this day, there's still lots of farms and some factories there. But let me tell you, back in the day, there was also lots of bigotry and segregation as well. There isn't enough time for me to detail everything that Dad did while he was fighting those 2 evils, but it can best be summarized by a comment he made during an interview. He simply said, "I led a group of committed people that loved to agitate and confront racism in all its ugly forms. And we were unapologetic about the work we did, and we were relentless, battling everything from voter registration, employment discrimination, to fair housing, to unionizing workers." He was the president of the Bloomington chapter of the NAACP for many years. During those years, he led many civil rights protests, boycotts, marches against discrimination in Bloomington. He was also the first chairperson of the Bloomington Human Rights Commission, which he helped create. In 1965 through 1966, he traveled back and forth to Jackson, Mississippi to assist with voter registration drives. In 1967, he and his committed team successfully created the strongest Fair Housing Act in the state of Illinois. Dad also spent years galvanizing workers to form unions that would guarantee workers fair wages and improved working conditions. In 1999, he was awarded the NAACP's Roy Wilkins Award for his efforts to fight racism and motivate others to join the cause. However, for Dad, the highlight of his activism was the one that gained him some national attention when in 1966, he chose to be Santa Claus in the Bloomington Christmas parade. You see, the NAACP was kicked out of that annual Chamber of Commerce Christmas parade for illegally entering a float that included Dad as a black Santa Claus. So what was Dad's response? Well, the following year, not only did he show up in his Santa Claus suit during the Civil Council meeting preceding the parade to protest mistreatment, Dad also contacted the media and guaranteed that the black Santa Claus would be there again. So on the morning of the parade, the police cruisers followed the float out of Franklin Park, and then they blocked their access to the parade at Main and Chestnut Streets. Unfazed, black Santa Claus got off that float and walked the entire parade route, waving at everyone. When Dad recalled the incident, he said, "People just saw the suit, and they just couldn't understand a black person in it, especially one who was walking without a care in the world." One woman almost jerked her little boy's arm off because he said, "Hi, Santa." And of course, Dad loved that. The police even threatened to arrest Dad for disturbing the peace, but they dared not. Dad did, however, inspire some arresting headlines in the newspaper across the country, and even in Jet Magazine. Some of you still remember Jet Magazine, raise your hand. All right. Today, that very Santa Claus suit that Dad wore and the full story behind it are in display at the McLean County History Museum in Bloomington. By the way, it's standing right next to another display that features a Ku Klux Klan hood and sheet, and they're telling story in history. The museum did this with a symbolic purpose in mind. You see, Dad's display is lit up with a light around all the time, while museum visitors must press a special button to light up the dark KKK display. There's even a sign beside that button, warning of the disturbing and offensive nature of the images hidden in the shadows. Finally, in his later years, Dad was often invited to share his history and the history of the movement with younger generations of all backgrounds. He hoped to inspire a passion for human rights, equality, and personal sacrifice. And oh yes, Dad's story doesn't end without a God is good story. Ironically, in 2015, almost a half a century later, Dad, Black Santa Claus, rode in the float at the request of the Bloomington City Council. And this time with a police honor guard escort. So yes, miracles do happen, and things can change. I'll close by saying thank you to our Dad and to all the heroes who paved the way for us. May they rest in peace and in power. That is, rest in the peace, knowing that they gave everything they had to give, and rest in power, knowing that they made their hometown, this country a better place. Thank you to the Liturgy Committee. Thank you to Father KK for allowing me to share our Dad's story. And thank you to my amazing husband for helping me write this.
So we have a certificate of recognition in memory of Mr. Merlin R. Kennedy, Outstanding African American, category of Civil Rights. Presented this day of our Lord, February 23rd, 2020. Ephesians 2:10 says, "For we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." St. Bridget Liturgy Committee and Father Kenneth KK, SSJ Pastor.
Thank you, Therese, for sharing your dad with us. Thank you, your family,